Price Clark from Storehouse Media Group. Sherrie, how are you? And we have a really great topic today. How
We
are you?
do, and I'm excited to talk about it. And I'm doing great. Thank you, Neil.
It's just a crazy one in not so many ways. Should you self-publish or traditionally publish? The pros and cons. And when I start thinking about that, more and more people are self-publishing now, which I think is fantastic. But these questions have not been answered by a lot of people because it's kind of like the difference with, oh, should I go on radio or podcasting? It's flipped. People do podcasts and do their own radio show, where it used to be the legitimacy was a radio show. Podcasting's caught up or even over taken radio shows. But what is the biggest misconception authors have about self-publishing versus traditional publishing?
Well, I think they think that self-publishing is not as much credibility. Somebody said, "I just want their logo on my book." So a lot of people feel that in order to prove themselves, in order to be big, they need to go through one of the top, the top five, Penguin Books, Simon and Schuster, one of those. And people make it successful all the time doing self-publishing. 50 Shades of Grey, just let you know, started off on the self-publishing path before it went, well, 50 Shades of Grey. So yeah, so it's really what is your goal? But to me, being in this industry for so long and talking to a lot of people who did go the traditional publishing route and wish they hadn't, because they lose rights, they lose control. There's a lot of things they give up and money, and they're wanting to get back into, taking more control over their book. And so they want to look at going a self-publishing route or hybrid. Really, it's more of a hybrid because the company does all the work. They do the cover, they do the interior, they get the identifiers, they do all of that. Um, you pay for it up front, and then for us after that, everything you make is yours. That's for us though.
Okay. And because there are some people that will use go self-publishing, you do it all yourself on KDP, but yet you don't have a brand like Storehouse Media. But we've talked about that countless times. In your experience, what types of authors or books are better suited for self-publishing?
That's a really good question, in that I think any book is suited for self-publishing. And I say that with a caveat. Um, Again, self-publishing or hybrid publishing, where you have professionals that go in and they make sure your cover is good and your interior pages are laid out professionally. Uh, that's something to always consider when you're doing the self-publisher and the hybrid. And it's usually probably worth the hybrid depending on who you get, because a lot of people go into this whole process not knowing or understanding everything they need for a book and how to do it. And you do want to make sure it's professional, because when you put your name on that book and you put it out there, understand it's out there forever and ever and ever. Amen. Even if you take it off, people will still have access to it some way. So, for any kind of genre, I think self publishing is good. Just make sure that you do your due diligence and you get a good one and someone who doesn't cut corners.
All right, so that's a very, very interesting question. And I guess our next topic for our next podcast is what hybrid publishing is, because that's really, but how long does it? So, that's where you give the best of both worlds. And that's
That's
something
right.
that's really something, and kind of explain that. What, you know, hybrid publishing is giving the best of both worlds.
We give the best of both worlds. Um, Again, you come to us with a book, a manuscript. You may even just come to us with an idea, and that's where we're the one-stop shop. We can take your idea, we can coach you into writing the book, we can write the book for you, we can do the editing, publishing, marketing, take it to the screen, everything in between. So that's when you come to us, we take care of all that. As opposed to self-publishing, you're going to have to go out and find your own designer, maybe to do your own design, and there's always errors and stuff, and it's hard. You're going to have a learning curve, and you got to figure out who's good and who's not. And so as far as self-publishing, to me, getting it done right the first time is going to save me both time, money, and grief in the long run. So that's my advice on that.
How long does it typically take to publish a book traditionally compared to self-publishing?
Self-publishing is going to really depend on the author. And I always tell people, let's, start off with the cover first, because the cover, I've seen it where the first cover was perfect. Okay. The author's like, leave it alone. I love it. And I've seen it where they've, especially if it's not something tangible, but it's something like mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever, that the cover can sometimes take a little more time. And it's really up to the author. And we work with the author. For us, we give several samples, and the author helps. And it's a fun project to kind of carve down and create that unique cover that they know is going to blow everybody away. So that's the one I would say start with. But technically, if you have everything and you don't get hung up on the cover, you can do it. We say three months. That's our outside, but it can usually be done quicker. It depends also on how big is your book. Is it, going to be 150 pages or 400 pages? So that makes a difference too, because we have to format the interior pages, and it's not a button you push. You actually do that manually.
How much creative control does an author give up when going with a traditional publisher?
Um, I've never personally been with a traditional publisher, just from what I've read and talked with people. We've talked to people who have gone with traditional publisher, and there's been issues with marketing that they have to go, try to talk to them with marketing their book. And now, do understand that when you go with a traditional publisher, you're still responsible for marketing your book. They do want that money. They're going to, money back their investment, whatever they put to your book. Um, so it's just it takes a longer time with a publisher. They're going to put out there when they need it, when they think it's going to fit to the marketplace. And sometimes this is an answer to your previous, because it just segued into it. Sometimes it can take 12 months. Sometimes it can take 18 months. It's just a long process. And what you have to do to get it done: query letter, if that gets accepted, then you got a book proposal. If that gets accepted, then the meetings and all that. So all that takes time. And I'm sorry, Neil, what was your last
No,
question?
that's no, I mean, it takes, so basically, the creative control. There's not as much creative control, is there?
No, and I've had an author who had several books with a publisher, getting them back, or it's more difficult, because a lot of times the publisher is going to buy the rights to that book, and they'll pay you, but they have the rights. So still your book, and they still want marketing for the most part done on it.
Okay. If an author wants to turn their book into a film or TV project, does the publishing route they choose make a difference?
Well, I believe it does, because if you're doing a hybrid or self-published, you have more control and you have more say so over your book. So to me, self-publishing is a really good route if you want to do your own movie. Um, and do understand that even if you are self-published, Hollywood, there are people there that can pick it up. Again, I'll refer back to 50 Shades of Grey. And they will be picked up. They can be picked up by a producer in Hollywood. I think with them, they're always, just like with anybody, they're podcast hosts, radio, TV, Hollywood, you're always looking to make the next new discovery, and that you can put up there and work with. So don't give up. There's a lot of different avenues for that as well. It's just going traditional. they have more say so for the most part over your book, from my understanding, than if you go hybrid or do it yourself.
All right. And the best place to go is storehousemediagroup.com and schedule a call, Sherrie, today. Appreciate it, Sherrie.
Thanks, Neil.